The mind is a lovely servant and a dangerous master. You must master your mind. If you can't control your mind, you won't be able to succeed with seed retention. This journey is being undertaken by a very small number of people on the planet. Of that small number, an even smaller number successfully retains over time. Your level of self-control is a real representation of your power. Man is the first product of evolution, able to handle evolutionary destiny, according to a book written in the 1930s. Because he is endowed with reasoning abilities, he must decide on his behavior without the convincing supervision of instinct. Man is assumed to collaborate consciously with nature in her ongoing evolutionary program if he is given a mind. Unfortunately, humanity has repeatedly failed to make a coordinated effort to advance itself. Instead of using the ability of the mind to understand the responsibilities that freedom from blind obedience to instinct entails, humanity has refused to listen whenever the requirements of the evolutionary law have been reminded. It was much simpler to pay attention to the nudges of desire, which had been an unknown element until the human stage. Man must have begun to use the mind to stimulate body desires very soon after acquiring mental self-consciousness, while becoming knowledgeable of stirrings of primitive impulses. In this way, he has taken part in the almost insignificant lustful impulse that he inherited from the animal kingdom. Since then, it has evolved into a wish so strong that he struggles to control it. Overwhelmed by his own unnaturally strong desire that man had made up, he has sought arbitrary ways to satisfy it. Despite reducing actual reproduction, he has discovered methods of unreproductive intercourse. However, any such act, regardless of its form, is a misuse of intercourse and consumes some of the life energy that ought to be available to support and develop higher faculties. The functions of our body's glands, or biochemical factories, are beyond human comprehension. The glands produce chemicals in the body that it relies on for growth and nourishment. And these chemicals are extracted from the food we consume. If left to their own devices, the glands carried out the task instinctively in accordance with nature's requirements. Their activity is supported by an intelligence unknown to men. As long as it is not interfered with, the glands make and contribute to the process of life by secreting only what is required when and where it is required. However, man has tampered with nature's regular stimulations and glandular function. He has pushed a few glands to serve his pleasure, to work extra hours, and to produce specific secretions in excess by using artificial excitations, especially since he overstimulates the glands associated with nourishment and intercourse. The double role of the essential reproductive glands, the ovaries, and the testes has been emphasized in modern physiology. Both organs generate exterior secretions for the generation of new bodies, but they also produce inner secretions for the upbuilding and rejuvenation of one's own body. These inner secretions are now necessary for both physical and mental manhood and womanhood. Our body secretes chemicals that enter the blood flow and play a crucial role in the growth of the organism. These substances contribute significantly to a man's magnetic and spiritual force and contribute significantly to the physical and psychological well-being of a woman. The more these elements are extracted from the blood for the formation of external secretions, the less they are available for the internal secretions and the essential processes that rely on them. The male genitalia cannot supply the normal number of internal secretions for regeneration. As a result, whenever these crucial elements are depleted, the entire body suffers. Every pleasure act, as well as any irritation of the male genitalia, meddles with the pattern of internal secretion. Every intimate impulse comes at the expense of mental, spiritual, and physical ego. It is sad to think that plants must demonstrate their normal effectiveness in personal desire in order to be kept in condition. Every intimate act, on the other hand, interferes with the proper functioning of these glands for the advantage of the individual. The history of our race advancement clearly shows how that misuse has slowed our forward movement. If your emotions take precedence over your actions, you will be unable to maintain long-term. Consider the last time you were persevering and made the decision to relapse and break your streak for a few seconds. Here is where the fight takes place. You couldn't cope with the pressure and will be succumbed to your emotions. Respect your emotions' power and recognize that there is a constant battle going on between your emotions and your functioning brain. Every time you give in to your urges by doing something you shouldn't, you alter the direction of your destiny to one of degradation. Every time you do what is right, even if you don't feel like it, your mind wins, your power wins, and you are on your way to a successful future, your desired destiny. Imagine these two factors competing in a battle for the power of your mind, and you get to choose which side wins. Keep in mind that your brain desires what is best for you, but the urge is willing to give up everything for its own satisfaction, for its own self-gratification. The intimate drive is a rival when your brain is on your side. It is beneficial to consider this urge as an external factor, a force in this realm that can cling on to you and drain your power like a vampire if you let it. This entity is extremely powerful and completely consumes a large group of people on Earth. To be successful at retention, you should not submit to this strong entity by allowing intimate desire to feed on you. Emotions can be very useful tools in our armory at times, but they make awful leaders. All of the world's leaders and successful people have had to fight this same war, and will proceed to do so with analytical analysis at the front line of their decision-making process. A slave cannot become a leader until he is freed. A man who's really willing to submit to his wild desires is incapable of commanding the animal nature of others. An impulse or habit is reinforced in proportion to the amount of time it is allowed to rule. A mental power is developed through practice, and the principle of will is strengthened through exercise, as is the use of impulses. Having strong passions and overcoming them makes a man a hero. The strongest instinct is intimate instinct, and whoever conquers it becomes invincible. The key to success is straightforward. Handle the stress and accept the sadness. Acknowledge all of the negativity you are experiencing and allow it to pass through you, knowing that it will pass. Don't try to relieve it. Instead, absorb it and sit with it. Do not let it affect your physical responses. Why are we so afraid of sadness and suffering? Why don't we embrace adversity instead of avoiding it at all costs? Sadness contains a great deal of knowledge. Being sad makes us appreciate the good times, good people, and nice ones in our lives even more. Grief is an essential component of life. Those who deny despair and react violently as a result of their sadness must learn to carry on it when it comes. If you want to become powerful and, as a matter of fact, successful, don't avoid despair and hard times. Learn to survive it and commit to your plan irrespective of how you feel on any given day. This is what you must do if you want to be among the top 1% of successful people. Those who prosper are adept at dealing with stress. Even though they have a strong desire for pleasure, they choose to look at the big picture. They recognize that the compromise they are going to make is for a far greater reward. Even when they are weak, they do not act on that weakness. There is no possibility of depression since it is not something they can bargain with. Simply put, they have settled not to fall and will not backslide. It is acceptable to slip up, but be very definite about who you're not. You have let down all the others because you are not an effective retainer. Who have stayed past your deadline are stronger mentally than you. By relapsing, you primarily drew a line in the sand to quantify your current level of power, and that line falls underneath every single retainer who has retained for a longer period of time than you. This is critical. Do not give yourself a pass. Everyone who has achieved long-term retention and who has accomplished a lot has given themselves a pass. There is no mystery to accomplishing this. You simply do it with no excuses. And with that said, thank you for watching. Don't forget to show some love. By the way, click the subscribe button and then hit like. See you in the next video.